it up, Badlands. Explain those Badlands. That's a hell of a name.
All right, good morning, Badlandia. Welcome to Badlands Daily.
It really feels like the cat with the laser pointer. It's like you've led the cat up to the top of the building, and now you're leading it over the edge.
President Trump is rebalancing trade around the world and making things more fair for the American people.
I think that anytime the deep state can like over-capitalize in whatever situation they have, they're going to.
But the rest of it is a very well-organized and well-funded color revolution operation of the type they run all over the world again and again and again to destabilize entire society.
All right, good morning, Badlandia. Welcome to Badlands Daily. Merry Christmas to you all. You all a good day. Joined this morning, hey, it's not night yet. Joined this morning by the one and only Ashe. Ashe, how you doing?
I'm good. I saw you were wearing a Christmas hat, so I grabbed the closest one.
Yeah, I'm only
music because I can barely hear you.
You can barely hear me? Oh, I don't know.
I just have really loud AC/DC in my head.
Oh, well, I'm going to be taking the hat off here in just a second because I can't hear anything through the headphones because the hat's covering my ears. So, all right, my Christmas spirit's over for the day.
No, it's just getting started.
Well, I mean, my spirit is in like coming in festive and everything else like that. So, welcome to the show.
From here on out, Brian will be known as the Grinch.
Oh, I mean, come on. All right. There is actually a lot to cover today. It is going to be a little bit of a shortened show, and it is Christmas Eve, the eve of Christmas. That's when we do our celebration here because, like, my grandpa was a comedian, and so he was always performing on Christmas Day. So we always did Christmas Eve like the night before, or Christmas the night before. So on my dad's side of the family, big deal. And then tomorrow we go with Christy's family and have the whole day there. So
that's fun.
Yeah, I got some full days and I still got to go do a little bit of shopping. I got my prime rib on the smoker right now. So I got to hope and pray that I didn't screw that up while I'm on here for an hour and a half. So let's get into the show. Let's start out with our sponsor, guys. If there ever was a sale that you needed right now, this is it. CB Distillery's end of the year sale is on now. Save up to 50% on everything with promo code RUMBLE. If the holiday chaos, late nights, and family parties have left you feeling stressed and sleepless, it's time for CBD from CB Distillery. They've got natural solutions for just about everything. Better sleep, less stress and more calm, improved mood and focus, pain relief after workouts, even CBD for pets. I absolutely love all their products. I give the pets the tinctures. I take the tinctures myself, the human tinctures, not the pet ones, although I don't know what the difference is. The Ohm gummies got me through my little flu spell a couple of weeks ago, and I'm grateful for CB Distillery. CB Distillery is different. Their hemp is grown right here in the United States, third-party tested and free from artificial dyes or fillers. Just clean, premium CBD solutions, and that is why I trust them. Seriously, don't miss this sale. Treat yourself and save up to 50% on everything. Head over to cbdistillery.com and use promo code RUMBLE. Again, cbdistillery.com, promo code RUMBLE. Specific product availability depends on individual state regulations. All right. And Ash, you want to talk about River?
Absolutely. Stack Sats with River, the Bitcoin-only platform built by Bitcoiners for Bitcoiners. Why River? Zero fee recurring buys. Stack Bitcoin effortlessly, hourly, daily, weekly, or monthly. 3.5% Bitcoin interest on cash. FDIC insured. No minimums. Withdraw anytime. Expert US-based support. Human help plus private client services for big buys, 100K plus. Business accounts. Boost your balance sheet with Bitcoin and earn 3.5% paid in Bitcoin. Top tier wallet, send, receive, and manage Bitcoin securely, unmatched security, full reserve custody, multi-sig cold storage, and proof of reserves. Join the Bitcoin revolution at badlandsmedia.tv/river and earn real rewards. That's badlandsmedia.tv/river. My goodness. Sorry, I have something in my eye and it was affecting my ability to read, apparently.
All right. Well, I will say this. I was, watching what G Money's been talking about, and he says Bitcoin tends to trail silver and gold just a little bit. When gold and silver go up, Bitcoin tends to trail it historically by a couple months. So there was a big dip in Bitcoin this morning. Great time to buy, right? Buy the dip. I'll be buying the dip after the show today. Hopefully it's still down. I think it's around 86,000. So jump on in. Silver is up over $71 an ounce. And if Bitcoin is historically trailing gold and silver, stand by. It's going to be a great holiday season. Or a great winter, at least.
Yeah.
All right. Let's jump into the news. Again, if you guys have not done so, please smash that thumbs up. I know there's going to be a lot of new people throughout the show today because, not everybody works on the holidays like we do here at Badlands, but we are here. And we would definitely appreciate if you guys could give us a thumbs up. And if you're new to the platform, give us a follow. Got some great shows here at Badlands, a variety of shows, everything from Bitcoin shows to full blown narrative. It's a good platform. So
voting shows. We do voting shows. We have a book club. You do sit rep. We have The Choice, which is a show based on The Chosen that Gordon and I do. If you're new to Badlands, there's lots of stuff, so check it out. Also, shout out to a bunch of people over on YouTube watching us. You see Babbage and Tweeter Trash and Tanya. Is that Tanya Warner? I think is how you say that. The two N's in Tanya are throwing me off. But,
Tanya Manor.
Yeah. And Lisa, good to see you guys. Thanks so much for watching us over on YouTube. If you're watching on YouTube, make sure you follow the channel.
All right. The golden age is upon us, ladies and gentlemen. President Trump gave us the rug pull last week with the speech that he was supposed to do that everybody prophesized was going to be a declaration, even though he doesn't have the authority as president to declare war on Venezuela. And
Never
in fact,
really stopped them before.
I know. But President Trump is the first president in 4 decades not to start a new war. And so therefore, why would you ever assume that he was going to start a war when he still has massive financial and economic powers that he can exert to get his whatever this desired outcome in Venezuela is going to be? But he rugged us on that. Tucker Carlson was out there saying that he has rumors that, this was going to happen. There's a lot of speculation that it was a canary trap and that perhaps Elise Stefanik was the victim of this. I thought that was a fascinating take.
Well, I don't think I heard that one.
Yeah, that was Josh and Alpha on I think it was Q After Hours or DEFCON. I don't remember which one they theorized this on.
Do you think she was the leaker?
Perhaps. And again, this is just speculation, but the scenario in which Stefanik backed out is bizarre because she had all of the endorsements from the committee chairman for governor of New York. She was the wild favorite. I bet you nobody in the chat right now could even tell us who the second person in the Republican primary was. And not only did she back out of the governor's race, she's resigning her seat in Congress.
Yeah.
And she's already been pulled from the ambassadorship. I think, where was she the ambassador that was offered? UN. Yeah.
Which to me is that's like the political equivalent of being sent to Siberia. Going to be UN ambassador. It seems like if you're being kind of ostracized from the Republican Party, that's where you go. Nikki Haley, John Bolton. Maybe that wasn't true for Elise Stefanik, but I'll tell you what, we heard it was her and then the other one, Kamak.
McCormick.
I think it's just Kamak,
isn't it? The one down here in Florida.
Yeah, who's a big Bitcoiner, crypto one. I know who she is because she's
from Colorado.
What is she? Oh,
she's from Colorado, I believe. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you can usually hold that against people. But she retired. She's resigning as well. And I'm not, Loomis. Thank you. No, there is a Kamak.
Camac.
Loomis is the one that I think I'm talking about, though.
Loomis is resigning after 1 year in the Senate. Yes.
Yeah. So like, I'm not a big Q person, but I remember the Q post about the resignations.
Yeah.
There's a few of them.
It is definitely interesting. But anyways, going off on a tangent here, we're just talking about Trump and the rug pulls and the heralding in, the ushering in of the golden age, which is the foundation. Russ Vogt came out and said that was, or excuse me, it might've been Lutnick that came out and said that that's what that speech was Trump is setting up the golden age as it comes. And we get this from Financial Times this morning. U.S. economy grew at 4.3% rate in the third quarter. It says the U.S. economy grew at an annualized rate of 4.3%, far surpassing economists' expectations. The rise in GDP was boosted by consumer spending in healthcare and computing. Estimates of 3.2% was what was prophesized by The Economist, polled by Bloomberg. I think it was like 61 out of 62 all said it's going to come in around 3.2%. Trump crushed that at 4.3%, absolutely crushed it. I want to jump over to his Truth Social on this. He says he's got two, actually, and one is kind of celebratory, and the other one is kind of what I think is like a warning, so to speak. Q3 GDP came in at 4.3%, blowing past expectations of 3.2%. 60 of 61 Bloomberg economists got it wrong, as they have so many times, but Trump and other geniuses got it right. The success is due to good government and tariffs. Consumer spending is strong. Net exports are way up. Imports and trade deficits are way down, and there is no inflation. Because of my tax bill, the great big beautiful bill, and tariffs, investment is setting records. The Trump economic golden age is full steam ahead. You haven't seen anything yet. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Make America great again, Donald J. Trump. Now let's look at his other one. This one's a little more warning, I think, here. The Trump rule, the financial news today was great. GDP up 4.2% as opposed to the predicted 2.5, which that's kind of strange because he literally just tweeted 4.3, 3.2, and now it's 4.2, 2.5. That's a little odd. And this despite the downward pressure of the recent Democrat shutdown. But in the modern market, when you have good news, the market stays even or goes down because Wall Street, quote unquote, heads are wired differently than they used to be. In the old days, when there was good news, the market went up. Nowadays, when there's good news, the market goes down because everybody thinks interest rates will be immediately lifted to take care of, quote unquote, potential inflation. That means that essentially we can never have great markets again. Those markets from the time when our nation was building up and becoming great. Strong markets, even phenomenal markets, don't cause inflation. Stupidity does. I want my new Fed chairman to lower interest rates if the market is doing well, not destroy the market for no reason whatsoever. I want to have a market the likes of which we haven't had in many decades, a market that goes up on good news and down on bad news, the way it should be and the way it was. Inflation will take care of itself. And if it doesn't, we can always raise rates at the appropriate time. But the appropriate time is not to kill rallies, which could lift our nation by 10, 15, and even 20 GDP points in a year, and maybe even more than that. A nation can never be economically great if, quote unquote, eggheads are allowed to do everything within their power to destroy the upward slope. We are going to be encouraging the good market to get better rather than make it impossible for it to do so. We are going to see numbers that are far more natural and far better than they have ever been before. We are going to make America great again. The United States should be rewarded for success, not brought down by it. Anybody that disagrees with me will never be the Fed chairman. And then he doesn't even give you the thank you for your attention to this matter.
Yeah, that's the headline too. Anyone who disagrees with me will never be Fed chair. That is a major headline over the news of Fed chair today. Everyone's picking up on that line.
Yeah, Jerome Powell, of course, on his way out here pretty soon. Trump hasn't announced the replacement for him just yet. But yeah, I haven't looked at the market. I don't know if the market's down. I know Bitcoin had a steep drop this morning, which is kind of strange. You would expect all, financial institutions to be going up with that type of news, 4.3% GDP. But it's down. What's the market doing right now?
Dow Jones today, stock indexes open little changed after S&P 500 sets closing record yesterday. Gold, silver set new all-time highs. Markets to close early today.
See, gold and silver is indicative of the devaluing of the U.S. dollar. And that shouldn't be the case. Like it's kind of strange, and I'm not a financial genius or expert or anything, but
What shouldn't be the case?
well, gold and silver, if gold and silver go up, the US dollar is usually going down. The value on the US dollar is going down. Markets are going down. There's, you're going for the stability of gold and silver. What we're seeing right now is gold and silver going up with the market going up, with the GDP at 4.3%. That's kind of strange. It's a welcomed, kind of deviation there, because President Trump, one of the things that he's been very critical of is the Fed and the Federal Reserve and the grip that they have over the U.S. economy and the U.S. people. And he's been no stranger to ridiculing Jerome Powell, the Fed in general, tariffs over taxes, that kind of thing. All these things are counterintuitive to the Federal Reserve. And I don't know. It's really interesting to see this, as the next year is going to be freaking amazing. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, I mean, the markets are reacting to the GDP number, and they'll probably correct at some point. It just doesn't feel like we're in a regular cycle, because there is so much there's so much change happening within the financial institutions and within the different halls of government and halls of decision rights, whether they're public or private. There's so much change happening on multiple fronts that it seems like a miss to try and read financial news right now as though it's a regular normal market, because President Trump is engaging in a transformation program. I truly believe.
I agree with that. All right, let's jump into this story here. You and I have been reading.
Everybody's mad at you, by the way, about the way you set up YouTube. Tweeter Trash left and came back to Rumble, and somebody else is like, "Why is the format different?" Just like you didn't know that was Brian.
There's two formats. There's a vertical format and there is a horizontal format. If that's too complicated for you, Tweeter Trash, I am sorry. But I'm not sorry. So
they're giving you feedback that they don't like it.
There's nothing I can do. It's in both modes. You just click the one that you want to watch it on. If you want to watch it vertical, watch it vertical. If you want to watch it horizontal, watch it horizontal. The vertical integration on YouTube is absolute trash, by the way, because all it's going to do is take this part of the screen and make it vertical. So we're probably not even on screen.
I can look and see. I noticed that. Yeah, we're smushed.
Barely on screen. Yeah. I can see. I showed you the hide vertical there. All right, so let's get into this clip here. Scott Bessent, Ash and I are covering Stolen Elections by Ralph Pizzullo on Badlands Book Club Tuesday nights at 6 p.m. Shameless plug.
It's got triple agents.
Got triple agents, Cuban, CIA, DEA. It's a who's who of the intelligence swamp.
Super duper good guy CIA too.
Yeah, it's the good CIA only in that book, until it's the bad CIA.
No, there's bad CIA too, but they're all rogue. They're
all rogue. Yeah, that's true.
Rogue bad guy agents, because the CIA are super duper good guys.
Yeah, you guys got to go check out Badlands Book Club. We're only 2 episodes in, so you still got plenty of time to get caught up.
3 chapters. You're only 3 chapters behind.
Yeah. But anyways, so this kind of ties into that a little bit. Scott Bessent making an announcement about U.S. Treasury and FinCEN going after money launderers at the southern border.
At President Trump's direction, the Treasury Department is utilizing all tools to stop terrorist cartels, drug smugglers, and human traffickers. In line with that effort, I'm announcing a new data-driven border operation to help root out potential cartel-related money laundering from the U.S. financial system. Treasury's Financial Crimes Enforcement Network, known as FinCEN, is targeting over 100 money service businesses along the southwest border. Specifically, FinCEN is issuing 6 notices of investigation, dozens of examination referrals to the IRS, and over 50 compliance outreach letters. These businesses, which provide financial services outside of a formal bank, face elevated exposure to illicit activity, including money laundering related to drug smuggling and human trafficking. Thanks to Treasury's push for technology modernization, we are now able to implement data-driven approaches to identify potential bad actors. And when malicious activity is identified, make no mistake, we can and will take action to keep Americans safe. President Trump has made clear his commitment to securing our border, stopping the flow of deadly fentanyl, and eliminating Mexico-based drug cartels to protect Americans. Treasury will continue to expand advanced technology and every resource at its disposal to combat money laundering and make America safe again.
All right, so going after the money laundering down at the southern border, huge deal there. They have a press release out as well where they mention that there's over 1 million currency transaction reports and 87,000 suspicious activities reports, SARS, that, they're now going through those, but, they've historically been ignored, these SARS reports. We've had Colonel Towner on many times to talk about, the money laundering and how there's like a specific pathway that they have to go through, these cartels and drug traffickers, human traffickers and all that. And there is a lot of dark money involved with our own intelligence agencies, running these. And that's one of the things we're picking up on, right? We're talking about, what was the guy's name? Kajed Malil, the Lebanese Venezuelan. That that they're like, oh yeah, the DEA was about to arrest this guy. He's the number one
guy, right?
Yeah, he's the number one narco trafficker in all of the Western Hemisphere. The DEA and the DOJ were about to crack down on him, and then the CIA pulled the plug because he's an asset of the CIA's. And it's like, the number one drug trafficker in the Western Hemisphere is a asset of the CIA. Tell me you're not benefiting from that without telling me you're not benefiting from that. Scott Bessent, President Trump, continues USAID defunding, announcing CIA operations in Venezuela. And now this right here, he continues to just crush the quote unquote deep state. I love this.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing I would push back on that you said is that the number one drug trafficker in the Western Hemisphere is the CIA. They established and made the cartels what they are, and then have engaged in statecraft and clandestine color revolutions and other spy operations to guide the behavior of those organizations to where they want it to go. The fact that we pretend like the people that the CIA tells us are the super duper bad guys while they're telling us that they're the super duper good guys, we're going to believe them, then we're retarded.
Yeah. And that wasn't, to be fair to me, you're pushing back on me for citing Ralph Pizzullo. Not.
Oh, yes. I didn't mean to. That.
Yeah, that wasn't my. I know who the
pushing back on the argument, not on you, because I know where you stand. Yeah,
I know who the number one drug trafficker in the world is. I witnessed a lot of it when we were in Afghanistan.
Oh, we the baddies.
Yes, we are the baddies. We are the baddies. Fight the Taliban, because the Taliban wants to grow opium in Afghanistan when it's the exact opposite. The Taliban cut down opium production to almost nothing in Afghanistan. The CIA fought against the Taliban and allowed drug lords to grow the opium. But don't worry, I don't know if you saw the Washington Post exclusive. I think it was Washington Post, might have been New York Times, that the CIA secretly planted opium that can't produce heroin. I swear to God, that was the article. And I was like, are you guys stupid? Did you not see the opiate epidemic that took place in this country, in 05, 06, 07, 08, around that time frame? Where do you think all that opium came from? The invasion in Afghanistan. No. They totally planted poppy that was not able to create,
Why would you do that?
It's so stupid. It is.
What is it? It's because there's like there's regular cannabis and there's hemp, right? Like, is this like the poppy, the hemp poppies that don't actually have psychoactive effects or something? And then why would you? Because I know why you'd plant hemp, right? There's a 1,000 different uses for that. Are there 1,000 different uses for non-opium producing poppy plants?
I don't know. Or it's just a ploy to make it seem like they're not drug traffickers. All right.
Yeah.
We'll move on to the next story here. Before we do that, though, I want to hit a sponsor real quick, guys. If you or someone you know and love struggles with blood sugar and A1C, you need to hear this. It is well known that the expensive meds and popular shots have dangerous side effects. Well, creators Bounty has developed the perfect alternative. It's an herbal supplement called Elohetrium. Elohetrium is a 100% natural formula that is proven to dramatically lower your blood sugar and A1C. It uses 7 healthy ingredients, no stimulants, no junk. These 7 ingredients would cost you over $150 if you bought them all separately. But here's the best part. There are no bad side effects. Who wants bad side effects? There are no bad side effects, only good ones. We're talking sugar cravings gone, inflammation reduced, and stable energy all day with 0 crashes. Seriously, most people are getting better results than they did on the harsh meds, but without the risk. Elohetrium is made in the USA, an FDA registered facility, fully tested, and is backed by a no questions asked 90-day money-back guarantee. The friendly folks at Creators Bounty offer fast, free shipping 5 days a week from Oklahoma. Head on over to creatorsbounty.com/rumble and take advantage of this special offer today. And thank you to Elohydrium and Creators Bounty for sponsoring the show. All right, let's jump into this story. Now, this story, another rug right here, and this is hilarious. Wall Street Journal. One of the documents in the second batch of Epstein files is a handwritten letter mailed to fellow sex offender Larry Nassar. Does that name sound familiar? Prison officials logged it in 2019 after Jeffrey Epstein's death. It claimed President Trump shared, quote, our love of young, nubile girls. Roughly 30,000 pages were posted on the department's website. On Tuesday, they included court records and emails tied to the cases against Epstein, many of which had redactions, as well as documents that reference President Trump. Quote, some of these documents contain untrue and sensationalist claims made against President Trump that were submitted to the FBI right before the 2020 election, the Justice Department said on X. To be clear, the claims are unfounded and false. The letter is quite interesting. I am going to preface this by saying there is a sexual slur in here. Dear LN, which is Larry Nassar, as you know, allegedly, as you know by now, I have taken the short route home. Good luck. We shared one thing. This is so fucking bizarre. We shared one thing, our love and caring for young ladies and the hope that they'd reach their full potential. Our president also shares our love of young, nubile girls. When a young beauty walked by, he loved to, quote unquote, grab snatch, whereas we ended up snatching grab in the mess halls of the system. Life is unfair. Yours, J. Epstein. What a weird ass state.
So who wrote that?
So allegedly Epstein wrote this to Nassar
That was already
after he died, apparently, because it says, as you know, I've taken the short route home. I'm assuming that's
They've already said it was fake, though, I thought.
Yeah, it did.
Yeah. So that's a rug. So who wrote it? Who wrote that letter and stuck it in there? I was watching Tucker Carlson and Matt Gaetz yesterday, but right before book club, we were talking about that. And they talk towards the end, I think it's towards the end, about the flooding the zone that the news media will engage in, or intelligence communities will engage in using the news media by throwing, so many different variations of a story that people get confused and check out. Right. And looking at this, there's been a bunch of things that have come out in the Epstein files that are rugs that are, shortly after shown to be not real artifacts within the files. And we see the DOJ come out, you hear Trump come out and say, oh, that's a hoax, right? Democrat hoax. But I want to know who's writing fake pedophile letters and sticking them in a batch of official files within an institution, because that's the nicest way to describe it is obstruction, right? Probably the least amount of punishment you'll get in is looking at it as obstruction, but it's not obstruction for obstruction's sake. It's obstruction to flood the zone, create chaos, make people not know what's real, and continue to undermine the president of the United States. So, who wrote it?
Yeah, the DOJ's official statement says the FBI has confirmed the alleged letter of Epstein to Nassar is fake. The fake letter is received by the jail and flagged for the FBI at the time. The FBI. So there you go. I mean, there has to be a trail here. It was received by the jail and flagged for the FBI. So they have to have at least some idea of where this letter originated, or at least an investigation should have been conducted into where this letter originated.
Okay, so you're not on team. It originated actually in the FBI.
It very well could have.
Which is where that's the team that I'm on.
Yeah, I'm not.
We need to throw some fake artifacts in here.
I'm not
picking
picking
the back room at the FBI is, creating fake pedophile letters.
Yeah, I'm not picking sides on this. The writing does not appear to match Jeffrey Epstein's. The letter was postmarked 3 days after Epstein's death out of Northern Virginia when he was jailed in New York. The return address did not list the jail where Epstein was held and did not include his inmate number, which is required for outgoing mail. This fake letter serves as a reminder just because the document released by the DOJ does not make the allegations or claims within the document as factual. Nevertheless, DOJ will continue to release all materials as required by law. Yeah. So I'm not picking sides on this one way or the other.
What are the sides?
I don't know. I mean, you're saying the FBI drafted it. I'm saying I don't have any idea who the heck did it. There's a million people that would want President Trump to be, grab snatch and have another.
So
the
sides for me, Brian, are the criminal cabal of our government or the people. And I will always pick sides in that dynamic.
Yeah. And here's another interesting segue. That's a segue into this story here from the Gateway Pundit. Biden judge blocks President Trump's attempt to strip security clearance from deep state lawyer Mark Zaid. U.S. District Judge Amir Ali says Trump's attempt to strip the security clearance from Zaid may violate the U.S. Constitution. Zaid represented Eric Ciaramella, the Trump Ukraine impeachment whistleblower. Zaid also represents intelligence officials and other deep state actors. Jump down here, and this is from the judge. It says, quote, the Constitution forbids the government officials from using their power to retaliate against people for their speech. And that is so even when the speech is critical of the government. This case involves the government's retribution against a lawyer because he represented whistleblowers and other clients who complained about the government, carried out by summarily canceling the attorney's security clearance without any of the process that is afforded to others. Judge Ali stayed his preliminary injunction for 21 days to allow the Trump administration to respond. So Zaid represented, allegedly, Eric Ciaramella, who is just a absolute swamp creature.
How can you say his name? You're not allowed to say his name, Brian.
Yeah, that's a great point. I mean, you literally were not allowed to say his name on social media platforms following the Ukraine.
Banned.
Yeah.
Because we take whistleblowers very, very seriously. It's a very serious thing. My reaction to this story, by the way, is arrest the fucking judge. Pardon my language.
I don't know if I'm ready to go that far yet, but there is going to be a lot of, in my opinion, there needs to be a lot of reprimand coming down for a lot of these district court judges. But so anyways,
there should be a reprimand. Who's going to reprimand them?
I don't know. Congress.
Yeah. Brian doesn't get to be in charge of the justice phase, by the way. He's too nice.
So Ciaramella is going back to 2017. He was a holdover from the Obama administration, and he's got a long track record of subverting President Trump, trying to coup President Trump ultimately with his Ukraine impeachment hoax. That he collaborated with Adam Schiff. He drafted a complaint after consulting with the House Intelligence Committee, who is run by Adam Schiff, violating standard whistleblower protocols by going outside the intelligence community inspector general. Just not a good guy. But apparently President Trump does not have the authority. This is the craziest thing to me, is if the president has the plenary power to classify and declassify documents, he should also have plenary power to revoke security clearances, regardless of what the case might be. The idea that he's somehow doing this as political retribution when the guy is literally accused and has evidence to support that he tried to overthrow the United States president, and Zaid was the guy that was helping orchestrate this with Schiff and Ciaramella and all those people, is absurd. So again, this is one that I think will end up making its way up to the Supreme Court, and we'll find out, does the president have the authority to revoke security clearances? And this is,
it's so irretrievably stupid, Brian. Mm-hmm. Does the president have the? Yes. So if you find out that you've got a double or a triple agent, right? Because we do have those now, triple agents. You have a triple agent. You have to go ask Judge, what's his name, if you can take care of that problem. Absolutely not. It's unbelievably stupid, and nobody would be challenging Joe Biden on these powers, or Barack Obama on these powers, or even George W. Bush on these powers, because they didn't care. They actually all celebrated how much power the president had and wielded it to, their whims, certainly in the Biden administration, where they were all using the auto pen and, I dare anyone to challenge the powers of the presidency when the people that worked for the president were acting in his name and wielding that power for themselves. Nobody had these problems back then, but because it's Trump, and Trump is not a part of their, secret clubhouse of the worst people imaginable. Now we all need to know. We need to take it to court to see if the president has the power to strip someone's security clearance. Are you kidding me?
I'm with you 100% on that. Again, plenary power to classify and declassify would imply that you can also dictate who can and cannot see classified information, and that's the essence of security classifications. Clearances. The other thing noteworthy about Chiramella is during Obama's second term, he was the Ukraine advisor from 2013 through 2017 when they left office. And if you've read some of the articles I've written, some of the research that John has done, John Harold, I know we have a lot of new listeners today, so that's kind of he's the owner of Badlands and the co-founder of Badlands,
sole owner operator of
yes.
Badlands Media.
But his research has found, that through the Hunter Biden emails that there was, a lot of collusion there, obviously. And we're not going to get into the in-depth of that, but it's like set in stone, like it's bona fide, some of the stuff that he's found and that we've written about. Chiramella was the one that was running all that. He was the one that was the advisor in that time frame. So I think this is going to be a much more, this is kind of the precursor to what's going to come next in this whole thing. So we'll see. Yeah. And again, I also think that Zaid is kind of the test case because there's a lot of other Obama and Biden officials that had their security clearances revoked. And I think he's kind of the low-hanging fruit on this to see what authority they're going to challenge the authority of President Trump. And then from there, they'll evolve the challenges to, accommodate the other people. There's going to be a lot of challenges behind that.
Yeah. I mean, so during the Biden administration, you and I talked about this a whole bunch of times on different things. There's this, they're setting a precedent kind of thing, right? The idea that, what we're watching happening is setting a precedent, and we can turn around and use that precedent, to remedy the situation when President Trump gets back in office. What we see the politicians do is, without a sense of self-awareness, just switch sides of an issue and abandon whatever principles they were standing on previously to stand on a different argument. And so I like the whole precedent thing, because I was thinking about that while we were talking, like, well, are they going to, put the executive branch back in the appropriate constitutional box through these challenges and then, set greater guardrails so we can't go off the rails so much in the future? I'm beyond caring about that. I'm at the point where if this is really what we're doing, and the people who are paid salaries by the American taxpayer, they exist to protect and preserve rights. They swear an oath to protect and defend the Constitution against all enemies, foreign and domestic. And none of them actually care about any of those things. They only care about their own personal power. And we're watching them just abandon the principles and go in different directions. Then you're illegitimate. I'm done pretending like you're illegitimate through no fault of your own, because I feel like we do that too, right? Well, elections are illegitimate, but it's not everybody's fault that ran on elections that they're illegitimate. So we should give them some benefit of the doubt. No more benefit of any doubt. You get none. If you're in there propping up your fake power in your illegitimate seat, you get what's coming to you. And the justice phase, in my opinion, needs to be swift and comprehensive.
All right, let's jump into our next story here from Politico. Supreme Court blocks Trump effort to deploy National Guard troops to Illinois. In the ruling on Tuesday, the judge noted that federal law generally bars the use of the military for law enforcement. They declared that the law Trump used to activate the Guard is likely to only apply when regular armed forces, the Army, Navy, Air Force, and Marines, are insufficient to maintain order. That is a really bizarre ruling, because that is giving more credence, I guess, against the Posse Comitatus Act than in favor of it, right? And I have 2 articles on this, so let me get through those real quick. Thomas, we'll get back to that statement right there. Thomas, Alito, and Gorsuch dissented. Kavanaugh declined to join the majority explanation for the ruling, although I think he voted with them. The decision is not a final one on the legal issue at stake in the National Guard deployments, but it is a significant step back for the president. District and appeals courts judges have also sharply rejected Trump's bid to borrow National Guard troops from cooperative red states and send them to Democrat-led cities and states over the objection of governors and mayors. But the Supreme Court was not weighing in on that question. And then I want to jump over to CNN because, I'll use the leftist news for this. This is from the White House spokeswoman, Abigail Jackson, says, quote, he activated the National Guard to protect federal law enforcement officers and to ensure rioters did not destroy federal buildings and property. Nothing in today's ruling detracts from the core agenda. And that is interesting because the way that this has been framed, they're ruling that National Guard cannot go out there and actually arrest people and participate in these raids and these other things. But that's not what President Trump was utilizing the National Guard for. The National Guard was standing guard at federal buildings on federal property, protecting ICE agents if they almost as like a QRF, a quick reaction force, if they needed it, if they get pinned down, if they get ambushed or something along those lines. In a last ditch scenario, that would be the reaction. So President Trump, I still think that he's legitimate in what he's doing. They're just ruling that he can't deploy them to actually enforce laws. Okay, fair. They're just protecting federal property. You can't tell the president he can't deploy federal troops to federal property. That's absurd.
It is absurd.
Yeah, federal law allows the president to federalize the National Guard when he can no longer execute the laws of the United States with quote unquote regular forces. A debate cropped up during the case about whether that term regular forces meant the regular military or federal agents. I got to lean towards the military because, regular forces in a historical context, we didn't have an FBI, a DEA, an ICE, a border patrol. We didn't have any of that. We had the U.S. military, and then we had local and state law enforcement. So that's an interesting, argument there. It says in the order,
I would think it means both.
I
Through regular civilian means. Because you can't have the military on U.S. soil, right? As a baseline,
deployed for law enforcement operations on U.S. soil,
right. So that's not regular forces.
It still doesn't dictate regular forces, though.
In the boundaries of inside the interior of the United States, I would think it would. I would think that would be an irregular force to bring in military on U.S. soil to enforce law enforcement to play a law enforcement role.
Well, depending on how this part right here, he can no longer execute the laws of the United States with regular forces. Depending on how that's worded, that could, be more indicative of whether he means federal agents or the actual military. But in the court order, it says here, in its order, the court said that the term quote unquote likely refers to the standing military. So the Supreme Court seems to believe that regular forces would imply the military.
That's to your earlier point. In the revolutionary time, in the founding of our nation time, it probably would have meant militias.
That's the point they're going to make here.
Yeah.
Quote, thus, at least in this posture, the government has not carried its burden to show that, end quote, the law at issue is the case in the case, quote, permits the president to federalize the Guard in the exercise of inherent authority to protect federal personnel and property in Illinois. Alito joined Thomas in the and wrote that he strongly disagreed and said, quote, the courts fail to explain why the president's inherent constitutional authority to protect federal officers and property is not sufficient to justify the use of National Guard members in the relevant area for precisely that purpose. I am not prepared at this point to express a definite view on these questions, but I have serious doubts about the correctness of the court's view. Alito argued that his colleagues had, quote, no basis for rejecting the president's determination that he was unable to execute the federal immigration laws using the civilian law enforcement resources at his command. Quote, whatever one may think about the current administration's enforcement of immigration laws or the way ICE has conducted its operations, the protection of federal officers from potentially lethal attacks should not be thwarted, Alito
Agreed.
wrote. The court took this is the part that I find interesting right here. The court took an unusually long time to resolve the emergency dispute, which the Trump administration first brought to the court in mid-October. Given the unusual amount of back and forth between the justices in Tuesday's order, it appears likely the court's conservative majority wrestled with how to resolve the case. Now, it also goes on to say that, essentially these deployments are now not necessary because they've got the situation under control and they're not seeing this. So I want to put on the tinfoil hat here for a minute, but was there a decision? Because the two conservatives, well, I mean, we know Roberts is going to, he's kind of wishy-washy either way, but Kavanaugh and Barrett side with the liberals on this question here. Those are the two Trump appointees, well, I mean, Gorsuch as well, or not Gorsuch. Yeah, Gorsuch.
Yes.
Gorsuch. Yeah. So Gorsuch is the only Trump appointee that did not. Barrett and Kavanaugh, side with the other side. And I'm kind of wondering if maybe this decision, and again, this doesn't rule that he can't do it to protect federal property, only that he can't do it in law enforcement. It also mentions that he still could declare the Insurrection Act if necessary, and declaring the Insurrection Act, again, this ruling pretty much goes by the wayside. I wonder if this was put in place to kind of, for future presidents and future efforts, to kill the precedent that the president can deploy the National Guard in a situation like this. President Trump did it because we do have a legit invasion over the last 4 years, and we can make that argument that, however many millions of people, 12 million, I think it's estimated, have crossed into our country. That's a situation we've never faced as a nation before. But at the same time, now that it's under control, let's put the guardrails back on. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean, I think that a big part of what we're witnessing, certainly with immigration, but across a number of different fronts, is the guardrail, like a re-implementation of guardrails to put these branches of government and these different agencies and entities back in their boxes, and to abolish them if they have no actual box, which should happen to a lot of them, but I think will probably happen to less than most of us would like. One thing that this story raised for me, the denial of the National Guard last week in the Denver Post. I think it was last week. Was it December 17th? The Denver Post put out an article, and thinking about how they use the news media, the Denver Post is one of those, like the AJC in Atlanta. It's like the premier, kind of the voice of the paper of record for the state of Colorado. Last week, they were talking, a third of sheriffs keep posses as reserve officer ranks decline. And they go through and talk about other states as well in the article. I'll put it in the chat if folks want to read it. But it's talking about how there are, the sheriffs, because one, and this is specific to Colorado, certainly, but also other states where this invasion is a problem. The ranks of officers have declined significantly. So in Colorado, it's 32% down. There's 32% drop in people that want to become police officers. Can't imagine why. Maybe it's because they're completely demonized. They have one of the worst jobs on the planet, and they're demonized by the people who are, who they work for in our state. So that's probably why. But all these sheriffs around the country apparently still have their posses. I love that they're using the word posse. But yeah, malicious.
So let's move on to another case here. And this one, I think the Supreme Court is definitely going to smack down. From the Associated Press, federal judge says Trump administration must restore disaster money to Democrat states. And I have a little more to add to this, because this is very specific to 12 certain states. Colorado just popped up yesterday, so we'll get into that.
Everybody's really mad about it here.
No, I know. A federal judge has blocked the Trump admin's attempt to reallocate federal homeland security funding away from states that refuse to cooperate with certain federal immigration enforcement. I mean, that in and of itself is just nuts to me. Like, a state's refusing to allow the president to enforce his constitutional obligations to thwart an invasion. That's nuts.
And set aside, audience, set aside for a second that, it's just poor little refugees in search of a better life. You know, the mama with the baby, and she can't go back to her home country because it's a shithole. And so she has to be here, and she's just in search of a better life, because that's the story you're told about the immigrants. What we've actually seen in places that have been overrun by immigrants is, yeah, sure, there's some mamas just in search of a better life. You know, that's definitely present. What we usually see is military aged males coming into community outside of our urban centers. And when they are, in my opinion, when they are activated, they raise hell and engage in widespread organized crime. Tren de Aragua here in Colorado. You know, everybody will remember the Aurora rally. Like, so it's not, it's like, oh, these poor, so there's just refugees in search of a better life. No, it is rapists and murderers and drug traffickers and people that kidnap women and pull their fingernails out. All of these things happening because of this invasion. The president absolutely has a right to do something about that when there are terrorists mixed in with the poor little refugees.
U.S. District Judge Mary McElroy's ruling solidified a win for the coalition of 12 attorneys general after being alerted that their states would receive drastically reduced federal grants due to their quote-unquote sanctuary jurisdictions. DHS and FEMA reduced more than $233 million from Connecticut, Delaware, the District of Columbia, Massachusetts, Minnesota, New York, Rhode Island, Vermont, and Washington. The money is part of a $1 billion program where allocations are supposed to be based on assessed risk, with states then largely passing most of the money on to police and fire departments. Quote, what else could defendants' decisions to cut funding to specific counterterrorism programming by conspicuous round-numbered amounts, including by slashing off the millions place digit of the awarded sums, be if not arbitrary and capricious? Neither a law degree nor a degree in mathematics is required to deduce that no plausible rational formula could produce this result, Judge McElroy wrote. Holy shit. You have states, like Ash just said right there, that are allowing terrorism to flourish, allowing immigrants from foreign countries that are hostile to the United States, unvetted, unchecked, to come into their country. You're encouraging that by advertising, I'm a sanctuary state. And now you're begging the federal government, please help me, give me money. Even though we're allowing this to perpetuate, give me money. This is insane here.
Yeah, and it's not just on the immigration front. The coalition of 12 attorneys general, Phil Weiser, who is the attorney general of Colorado, has 47 lawsuits against the Trump administration and or their policies. And you know, they're getting little wins here and there, but the judge has absolutely zero authority to do what she's doing. This is where we need judicial reform. We were talking about this earlier on in the second term when, you know, with the Abrego Garcia and all of the immigration related obstruction that we were seeing. We're like, hang on a second. Why do these federal district judges, who are created by Congress and have zero authority to combat the president of the United States in this way? The president doesn't work for Congress. There seems to be this like misunderstanding, misinterpretation that somehow the president reports to Congress. He does not. He reports to us, the people, and the federal district. I'm honestly to the point where I just say, freaking abolish them.
Yeah, let me read on here because it gets interesting. Conspiracy theorists, put your tinfoil hats on, but this is interesting. Quote, defendants' wanton abuse of their role in federal grant administration is particularly troublesome, given the fact that they have been entrusted with a most solemn duty, safeguarding our nation and its citizens. Meanwhile, those nations, those citizens in those states and cities that they're trying to safeguard, are that effort to safeguard them is being thwarted by the willful disregard of federal and state immigration laws, federal immigration laws. But that the judge doesn't make any mention of that. While the intricacies of administrative law and the terms and conditions of federal grants may seem abstract to some, the funding at issue here supports vital counterterrorism and law enforcement programs. To hold hostage funding for programs like these based solely on what appears to be defendants' political whims is unconscionable and, at least here, unlawful, says the Rhode Island-based judge in her rulings, who also invoked the Brown University attack in Rhode Island. McElroy notably cited the recent Brown University attack, where a gunman killed 2 students and injured 9 others, as an event where the $1 billion federal program would be vital in responding to such tragedy.
Why'd you read a part you didn't have highlighted?
Because I didn't want to read that first. I wanted to throw that in there. So again, there's 2 questions I have here. First and foremost, why is a federal judge in Rhode Island able to effectuate law, effectuate a ruling outside of her district? I thought that was a thing that we cleared up. Right. I thought we cleared that up. But you have Minnesota, New York. What were the other states? I know some of them are within her district. I would imagine.
Well, it's hilarious to think that insurrectionist judges are not going to engage in insurrection when they're told to stop.
That's a good point.
They were put in place to do a job, and they're doing their job. They need to be held accountable for it because their job is unconstitutional and seditious at best.
Yeah. So we're going to have more on this. Again, I think that the power of the purse is one of the few things that, Congress obviously has the power of the purse. But if the president, the executor of the laws of the United States, finds that you are not following the laws of the United States and you want money to subvert, the laws, I mean, it's insane to me. And this is something we've talked about with elections, with HAVA and the NVRA and the EAC. The only real, enforcement that they can effectuate is the withholding of funds. The only power that the federal government really has under HAVA and the NVRA is to say, if you don't follow the laws, we're not going to fund your elections. We're not going to give you money to run your elections if you're not following law. So why is that same exact thing, application of the law not applied to this? If you're not following, if you're willfully disregarding immigration laws and calling yourself a sanctuary state, a sanctuary city, the federal government should be like, okay, kick rocks. You're on your own then. Yeah.
And Ken, and this is the part that, people are, I think, eventually going to realize. So I'll take us back to Colorado. Drink, everyone. The AG is engaged in 47 lawsuits. He really, really hates the president. He's like one of the most Trump deranged people on the planet. And whenever the president makes an announcement, Phil Weiser, files a lawsuit.
Yep.
It doesn't matter that they don't have the authority to do what they're doing. It's not about actually getting to the right answer for these people. It's about obstruction. It's about throwing, as President Trump is riding a bicycle down the street. These guys are trying to stick everything they can in the spokes, trying to throw things in his path, trying to make it so that he can't actually get down the street. That's treason. And it's not policy disputes. We're not just talking about policy disputes, because these guys are on the opposite sides of policy issues that they used to hold. It's about the party. It's about the winning of the game between this fake opposition dynamic. And I think I really do think it needs to be dealt with, and I think it needs to be dealt with before the end of this second term, because we're not going to get another chance. And the American people are not going to tolerate this much longer, I don't think. And, I'm not a huge believer that the American people are going to rise up and collectively do something, but they are, potentially going to check out. They are going to delegitimize the institutions even more so, at least within their own communities and in their own, families and ideologies. And so that's a real risk for a group of, white hats or whomever who have spent so much time bringing us into an understanding of the level of corruption involved in our government. I cannot see the intended logical outcome of this season of ops, the ops within the ops within the ops, being to wake us up, bring us into an understanding of just how corrupt everything is at the state, federal, local levels, and then be like, yeah, so, you know, that's sucks, right, guys? It sucks. Okay, we're going to move on. Vote in a fake election again. We're not going to do anything about that. Keep paying us your taxes so we can keep giving, you know, migrants $3,000 whenever we decide we want to change migrant behavior. It can't be that. If it is that, if the answer is we woke you all up and we told you about all this corruption and we told you about all the treasonous conspiracies and all the ways that you have been slaves, we woke you up to that because we want you to, you know, we feel like we need to tell you, but we're not going to change it. You know, like visibility filtering with Twitter files, when they told us that, you know, they told us how they were manipulating the platform and then just kept doing it. Like, I don't see how that can be the answer, but maybe that is the answer. If that is the answer, I think that our country is already lost.
Yeah, just a quick note on the $3,000 thing, because me and Gordon had this discussion yesterday. 17,000, that's what it costs to deport each person that's been deported. $17,000. So the $3,000 is actually a good business deal in reality. If it's going to save $14,000, you know, maybe a little bit more, because there's obviously
there's still going to be a cost associated. So the $3,000 is not going towards the $17,000. The $3,000 is going in their pockets.
Right, but if they have to go hunt them down and track them and go through the courts and the administrative processes and all that, it comes out to about $17,000. If you're able to just get them to deport on their own, you're going to spend $3,000 plus the cost of the plane ticket, plus, you know, whatever, you might have some administrative expenses in there. So let's call it $5,000. You know, you're still saving $12,000. But to your point, the perception, you know, and this is what Gordon and I talked about yesterday. On one hand, you're saying, hey, we're going to give our military bonuses of $1,776. $1,776. And then on the other hand, like a day later, you're like, oh, we're going to give immigrants $3,000 to self-deport. That the optics of that look terrible, but in reality, it's a cost, you know, it's a cost benefit for us to do it that way. Plus there's a whole bunch of other, you know, cost, obviously, that illegal immigration has. You know, there's varying degrees on how much illegal immigration actually costs us in the United States, but it's in the billions of dollars. And, you know, the left will always point out, well, they're paying taxes too. Yeah, they are paying taxes. They're also sucking off all of the subsidies that, you know, are not supposed to be going to them, but are somehow, you know, they're getting into that system. There's the voter roll aspect as well. So there's a whole facet there. Not wanting to go off on a big immigration rant. I do want to talk about another sponsor real quick, and then we'll get back to the same story because it's happening again in Colorado. Guys, are you looking for a comfortable but unique option for your gaming setup? Check out technosportusa.com with a wide range of ergonomic chairs in any array of color. You will definitely bring your setup to the next level. Always comfortable, never boring. Technosport.com. Use promo code RUMBLE to get 10% off your entire order. And if you're not sitting in one of those chairs, you do not know what you're missing. Yeah, so let's get back into the same concept as that AP story is now taking place in Colorado. U.S. Representative Brittany Peterson put this out following a Denver 7 News. Pedersen, excuse me. She's
also known as Baby Prop Chick. She's the one that kept bringing her little son Sam everywhere because she was standing on the whole we need to be able to proxy vote so I can breastfeed at home thing. Like, don't come to Congress if you can't actually go to Congress. Setting that aside, this is what this was the issue, and her allegiance with Brittany Pedersen is what caused Anna Paulina Luna to end the JFK declassification hearing in the middle of it so she could run to the floor to vote on breastfeeding for congresswomen, because they only actually get authentically upset about something when it impacts themselves.
You said it. You said it. All right. So Denver 7 News, President Donald Trump late Saturday denied Colorado's request for disaster relief funds following the Elk and Lee fires and Western Slope flooding this summer. Pedersen says Trump is now denying our state critical disaster relief for political retribution because Governor Polis won't bend the knee and transfer Tina Peters. This funding is critical to help us recover from wildfires and floods. It's truly unimaginable that our president weaponizes every opportunity he has for his own personal agenda, always putting the American people last. I'm deeply sorry for the communities who will be impacted. Our country deserves so much better. You know, I remember, and I know Colorado's your baby, so I'll hand this over to you relatively quick here, but I remember a point in time when the federal government had to go to the states and ask them for money. And now it's like the states always come running back to the federal government with the proverbial cup, shaking the cup at the federal government for more funding. Tina Peters is absolutely a political prisoner being held in absolutely political retribution for what she did. Jenna Griswold did far worse and is free to go. It's a sanctuary state, sanctuary cities. You guys brag about this. No offense. You guys brag about this. You guys brag about this. You were importing all these, Tren Agua and all this other shit. You are not
newcomers. We call them newcomers, Brian. Be kind.
You are not complying with the request to audit SNAP, to audit the voter rolls, to audit Medicare and Medicaid. You're not doing anything to be accountable,
Correct.
But you want the government to keep giving you money. F all the way
off. To be forced to. Yeah. The federal judges can say, no, you must continue to subsidize 40% of Colorado. Could be more too. It's like just the amount they admit to is that 40% of our state budget is coming from the rest of you guys, which is awesome. Thank you so much for subsidizing our communism.
Yeah. And that's one of the points there is, I mean, it says request for disaster relief. This is like certifying elections. Do we vote to certify elections? Well, it's mainly notional. It's just a ceremonial process. Yeah. It's just you have to do it.
Yeah.
We have to have that check in the box that yes, you certify the election. It doesn't matter if you actually certify it or not.
Certifiable. Yeah.
Right.
It doesn't matter if it's actually certifiable. You will certify it, or Mark Elias will sue you and threaten you as a public official, and nothing will happen to him either about it. Yeah. Listen, President Trump, and I'm proud of Brittany Pedersen for getting to the right answer, because a lot of people don't really want to admit this, but you will remember, Brian, President Trump promised harsh measures if Tina Peters wasn't free. And at the time that he said that, this was months ago, right? At the time that he said that, I said, it's funding. The harsh measures are funding. And we heard from lots of people in our movement that no, he's going to declare her a federal whistleblower and move her out. And they're going to send marshals in, Brian. They're going to send marshals in to take her out. And he's going to do harsh measures. Means that President Trump is going to come in with the cavalry and take over the state of Colorado. And what I've said all along is no, he won't, because President Trump actually loves the Constitution and it ran on and has been trying to restore it and trying to put the branches and the institutions of government back into their constitutional boxes. So he cannot come in and take over the state of Colorado. It's a massive violation of the 10th Amendment. And even though we hate our state government, we would oppose it because it is highly unconstitutional. But you know what he can do? He can affect discretionary funding. He can stop the money flowing, and people drastically underestimate how important the federal money is to the state of Colorado, particularly when we've already dealt with, at least in part, and you can feel the ripple effects of it here. So definitely something happened. The USAID thing. We've already removed that spigot of money coming in. Now, a lot of people might not know this. State of Colorado, 10% of the workforce is NGOs. 10% of our workforce is NGOs, and they had the USAID money cut off, and now they're having these other federal spigots cut off, and they're freaking all the way out about it, so much so that all they can do is sue. And yeah, they might get some wins, as we saw in the prior story, but they're not going to win in the end. And harsh measures mean harsh measures, bitches.
Well, the other thing is, if their funding is cut off, these lawsuits are not going to be as, bolstered as they used to be, right? They're not going to have, the team of attorneys that they threw at you and Sean and Holly.
This is the AG's office, though, and they're subcontracting. They're able to subcontract with other.
Yeah,
attorneys.
But you were talking generally about the NGOs and the wins and stuff. I'm not talking about the AG specifically.
Oh, here. The 47 is what.
Yeah, Grow Wizard asked, "How did we get to where the states ask the feds for money? How did we get there where the states ask the feds for money. The creature from Jekyll Island. We allowed the federal government to print money. We allowed the federal government to tax us to fund that money. That whole time frame, you guys know this, the 1912, 1913, 1914, all the way I think to like 1917. That whole time frame right there was, that was one of the worst moments in American history right there. All right, let's jump
yesterday. So the 23rd of December, 1913 is when the Federal Reserve Act was signed,
right
following the meeting at Jekyll Island.
Before Christmas. If you think news died quickly on a Friday, wait till you see how it dies over the holiday.
There was a boat accident that had a little something to do with things as well, but
Secretary of State Marco Rubio put this out for far too long. Ideologues in Europe have led organized efforts to coerce American platforms to punish American viewpoints that they oppose. The Trump administration will no longer tolerate these egregious acts of extraterritorial censorship. Today, the State Department will take steps to bar leading figures of the global censorship industrial complex from entering the United States. We stand ready and willing to expand this list if others do not reverse course. And I want to jump over here. This is a clip here from the Under Secretary of State for Public Diplomacy, Sarah Rogers, talking about this effort.
Add one more thing on the Online Safety Act, and I emphasized this earlier, but I want to say it again. It's misguided and unfortunate to apply that law in Britain, but applying that law extraterritorially, which means applying it to speech that has nothing to do with Britain, does not occur in Britain, is on American platforms by American users on American political issues. Purporting to censor Americans in America is a deal breaker. It is a non-starter. It is a red line. And that's what Ofcom has tried to do with the Online Safety Act. And that's one reason the American government is concerned.
Okay, but will your government then take legal action against Ofcom if they try and overreach in the way you've described?
Well, there's already formal action proposed. There is a bill before the House called the Granite Act that would amend an existing statute to clarify that as a matter of American public policy, any penalties imposed by Ofcom are unenforceable against American companies. So our legislature will likely consider that, and will certainly consider other options if indeed the British government insists upon trying to nullify the First Amendment on American soil with respect to American companies.
All right, so huge. The what is it called? The OSA, the Open the DSA, Digital Services Act. The whatever the law in Britain about that is. I just hope
they have a lot of laws dealing with privacy and digital rights.
I just really hope that same mindset against foreign influence in the United States over social media and all that applies both ways. This is a story we covered earlier this week. Yeah, right. Exactly. This is a story we covered earlier this week, about Israel spending $6 million to influence social media in America, the Israeli lobby, through a conservative group. I think it's Salem Media, using Salem Media to do this. There's also this little clip right here.
But Jewish schools are not enough. The entire education system in this country, from K through 12 and colleges, must be reformed. Laws must be passed that will focus on three things: no racism, no anti-Semitism, and no anti-Western civilization should be taught here.
Oh my God.
I know. That's the World Jewish Congress leader right there. Ronald Lauder is his name. Where are we taught racism in schools? The only racism that I ever see examples brought forward any time, in the is against white people, is against white males. White heterosexual males are demonized in schools now.
Cisgendered ones, especially.
I don't know where that's coming from, but again, we're talking about an outside organization, the World Jewish Congress. We're talking about outside influence from another country to effectuate restricting laws in the United States. Let's make sure that we're waving, that flag on both sides here. And
5 minutes ago, all of the conservatives were totally against censorship and compelled speech. Now we're talking about impacting we have to rewrite the curriculum and make sure that we have no racism Well, I mean, what was the past 20 years other than one side of the country trying to affect policies that would end racism? It ended in a shit ton more racism. That's what we got from that, because it turns out when you pit people together and tell them that, well, you're less important because your intersectional hierarchy of victimhood isn't as bad as mine, and so I'm better than you, and we need to have a more equitable relationship. So I can call you names, I can take jobs away from you, I can impact your ability to get awards or to get into colleges, or all of the things. Like we can do that because we have to make this a more equitable relationship. How is the World Jewish Congress saying anything different than BLM, except that they think they're more important because they're Jewish? And come at me, bro, because they do. Like we have separate laws, separate applications, separate the conservative movement will abandon their principles of free speech for this one people group. It's the same thing. It's intersectionality 2.0, and my answer to it is the same as it was with BLM. No.
The World Jewish Congress is in fact based in America. It's based in New York City. So we'll just go to a foreign leader.
So what do you do against the lie that circles the earth 10 times before the truth has a chance to emerge? You have to shorten the war as speedily as possible. And frankly, we also have to do something about the algorithms and the social networks. This is a big challenge. I don't want to dismiss it.
Yeah. So, I mean, there's just, I just hope the censorship, the pushback from our government about the censorship, I just hope it goes both ways.
Well, Ted Cruz is running for president, so we'll see what happens.
Well, he's running for president of Israel, though, right?
Is there a difference? He ran for the Senate to be the #1 supporter of Israel and the nation.
He stood in front of his
and allegedly people elected him. The state of Texas, apparently.
He stood in front of his constituents in Texas and told them, if you don't stand with Israel, I cannot stand with you. That is a direct quote. A U.S. senator, United States senator, telling his constituents, who you could have, Muslims in the crowd, you could have, who have been, at odds with Israelis forever. And I'm not talking about, like anti-Semitism. I'm talking like legit gripes between both sides, an equal footing. I'm not going to pick sides. But imagine telling your constituents that if you don't stand with a foreign country, you can't have your own thoughts. You have to be brainwashed that country, you have to stand with them no matter what. Otherwise, your senator is going to tell you to kick rocks. That should be an immediate disqualifier from eligibility for the Senate.
Yeah, I mean, I could make an argument that it gets you closer to treason or seditious conspiracy. But yeah, the people of Texas get 2 senators. Their representation is 2 people. It's 2 senators in the Senate, like every other state, right? They represent
the state, not the people.
But originally, certainly, but after the 17th Amendment, no. So
exactly.
Yeah. So the people of Texas have 2 senators representing them in the so-called upper chamber. And one of those senators has declared that his #1 priority is a foreign nation and not Texas. Not America, right? Which I think we often go to is like, you shouldn't be standing up for a foreign country. You should be standing up for our country. Certainly that's true. They all swear an oath to do it. However, getting even more granular, his job is to advocate and represent the interest needs for Texas. Did he even think about Texas at all? Because he doesn't talk about Texas as though he thinks about Texas. Just saying.
All right, let's jump into this article here. This is an older. It's from this week, but I specifically was saving this for today's show from Politico. Acting CISA director failed a polygraph. Career staff are now under investigation. At least, and there's a lot of reading in this. So
I love that you saved this story for me.
I did. Because when we were going to cover it just briefly, you seem to have a better grip on it, and I wanted to read it more because it's a very long article. And it came across in the morning, so I want to make sure that I had good time.
I don't know that I have a better grip. I have a theory though, and it was like
so you read the whole thing. When I did it with Gordon on Tuesday, I would not have been able to have read the whole article before the show. So, and I wanted to make sure, because CISA is a very important organization right now with election integrity and all that. At least 6 career staffers at CISA were suspended with pay this summer after organizing a polygraph test that the agency's acting director, Madhu Gautam Mukala, failed. The the Department of Homeland Security opened an investigation into whether the staff provided quote unquote false information about the need for the test, scheduled after Gautam Mukala sought access to certain highly sensitive cyber intelligence shared with the agency. Now, keep in mind, Gautam Mukala is the acting CISA director right now, because Senate is still sitting with their thumb up their ass, not confirming Trump's appointees. And so Sean Plansky is still waiting to be confirmed. So right now he is the acting director of CISA, and they're saying that he sought access to highly sensitive cyber intelligence shared with the agency. Yeah, of course he's going to be interested in that. This article is based on interviews with eight current and 4 former U.S. cybersecurity. Allegedly. Cybersecurity officials, including multiple Trump appointees. On a side note, did you hear what Jake Tapper said this week about, we're only as good as the sources that we have. Sometimes we're going to report fake news because our sources are crap. It's like, no, your sources are intelligence and, people that are deliberately trying to propagandize you, and you buy into it because you don't do your own due diligence. That's the problem with the media today, is the news cycle is so fast that they don't have time, or they're just lazy as shit and don't go and, go a deeper level. They just take their word at point blank and go with it.
Well, that's exactly it, is that they're not doing journalism. They're repeating propaganda.
Right. They're propagandists.
Yeah.
Quote, instead of taking ownership and saying, hey, I screwed up, he, meaning Gautam Mukala, gets other people blamed and potentially ruins their career, said a current official, describing Gautam Mukala's tenure at CISA so far as a quote-unquote nightmare for the agency, which is good. It needs a nightmare. It's an agency that told us most secure election in American history. DHS spokesperson Tricia McLaughlin said, quote, an unsanctioned polygraph test was coordinated by staff misleading incoming CISA leadership. The employee in questions were placed on administrative leave pending conclusion of an investigation. We expect and require the highest standards of performance from our employees and hold them directly accountable to uphold all policies and procedures. Gautam Mukala has the complete and full support of the secretary and is laser focused on returning the agency to its statutory mission. When asked for clarification on what is considered an unsanctioned polygraph, McLaughlin said, quote, random bureaucrats can't just order a polygraph. Polygraph orders have to come from leadership who have the authority to order them. Gautam Mukala is a former senior IT director from South Dakota under Kristi Noem and was appointed by the governor turned secretary as deputy director in May. Trump's pick, Sean Plansky, has not yet been confirmed. One of the officials that they quote in here says, we're a sinking ship. We're like the Titanic, and good. CISA should probably sink. The test was scheduled. This is where we get into the kind of the meat and potatoes of the story. The test was scheduled that month, meaning back in July, to determine his eligibility to review one of the most sensitive intelligence programs shared with CISA by another spy agency, which, by the way, I didn't know CISA was a spy agency, but by another spy agency, 3 current officials and 1 former official said. The material was designated as a controlled access program and was circulated on a need-to-know basis. The agency that furnished it to CISA required that any need-to-know employees first pass what is known as a counterintelligence polygraph. We have a spy agency giving CISA, who's now, I guess, a spy agency, as they allude to, giving them sensitive intelligence and keeping it from the acting director. Yeah. That is insane.
That means happens a lot.
That means the deep state, Ash. This is telling you the deep state is not just the bureaucrats at the top. It's going levels deeper than that, to where even the bureaucrats at the top are not even, in cases like Brennan and Clapper and all that, they had authority, but they're keeping this now from Trump's, the director of CISA. Like that's insane to me.
Yeah. Yeah. So it is quite the revelation. And that line that you highlighted in 3 different colors was also like, when I saw that, I went back and I was like, oh, whoa. So we have a spy agency. We're not told which one, but we have a spy agency that has covert agreements with bureaucrats within other entities to determine whether or not the president's appointees to run those entities actually can run those entities. Exactly. And this story to me is well, I love it because the way it reads to me is that they were caught in the act. It reads to me that they were trying to do the same Trump 1.0 tactics of, getting, subverting his agenda wherever they can, but within the actual departments and agencies subverting his agenda. And they were caught in the act. And as I've said, dude's name is Gotham. You didn't think twice? You didn't think twice about it?
Got him. Guys, real quick, we'll get back into this story. I do want to talk about our final sponsor of the program. Have you guys tried 1775 coffee yet? Now is your shot. The 1775 starter kit has just dropped with only 1,000 units available. You're getting the bold dark roast that hits hard, the smooth medium roast, and the vitality mushroom coffee for clean energy and laser focus with no crash. All single origin, small batch, toxin free and mold free. Plus, you're also getting a golden spoon clip because Freedom isn't scooped with a plastic frother, a plastic scoop, a frother strong enough to stir up your coffee and your father-in-law's political opinions, and a black 1775 tumbler, $170 worth of coffee and gear, yours for just $99. This is the one. This is for the ones who've been watching 1775 blow up on Rumble, wondering if it's actually worth it. Spoiler alert, it is. Go to 1775coffee.com/studio and grab your starter kit before they're gone. Bold beans, clean fuel, and a morning routine that stands for something just like Rumble does. All right. Thank you so much. And let's jump back into this article. Senior staff raised questions about whether Gadumukala needed to review the intelligence material on at least 2 occasions. It's none of their effing business whether or not he needed to. He is their superior officer in that organization. It is not of their concern whether he feels like he needs to. If he says he needs to, he needs to. He continued to push for the access, even if it meant taking a polygraph. In early June, a senior agency official did not approve an initial request signed by mid-level CISA staff to grant Gadumukala access to the program. Think about
Fired for insubordination.
Insubordination out. You're gone. You're gone.
Think of the chain of command, right? Like, so you were military, the chain of command, and this is a civilian agency, but it's still important to understand who holds the decision rights, what is the governance structure within this agency, and who holds the decision rights, who has the veto power, who makes the decision. And what we're seeing in this story is that it wasn't the head of CISA, it wasn't the president of the United States, it was an unnamed spy agency that was calling the shots in this civilian agency. I mean, is that not, Brian, a violation of the there's 18 intelligence agencies now, and I don't know how many of them are not allowed to operate on U.S. soil, but let's assume it was the CIA. Certainly, they would be involved in very unlawful conduct, unless they're doing that thing like they did in Sicario? The movie where you just attach attach an agency. Maybe that's what CISA is, Brian. Maybe CISA is a fake U.S. Civilian entity that only exists to give the CIA the ability to operate on U.S. soil.
I mean, that's what most of these agencies.
Central Intelligence Agency.
The Central Intelligence Agency has their tentacles deep into almost every bureaucracy in this country, every NGO. There's just and even we're not necessarily talking about like bona fide CIA officers and agents. We're talking about assets. We're talking about people that are informants, et cetera, people that are just given, they might not even know that they're being handled by the CIA, but they're running a business that's wildly successful. And they're like, why am I so successful? My business actually sucks, but hey, I'll take it. And oh, by the way, we're going to need you to ship some of these products over to here. And you're going to pay this politician. And it goes on and on. But To your point there, a second ago, that statement right there, that a senior agency official did not approve a request for his superior to view something, is fucking insane.
Immediately fired for insubordination.
I can't imagine in the military. All right. I couldn't imagine a sergeant major, an E9, saying that a captain, an O3, could not see something. That captain is your superior, even though you've got time and grade and everything else over him, and you're senior to him in every single way. His rank is higher than yours, even though it's lower in number, and he's a field grade officer. It doesn't matter. You can't do that. And this was insane to me, that Politico's even trying to make this look like Gadu Mokala did something wrong here. It says the agency's previous deputy director, this person noted, had not seen the program. Maybe because they didn't want to see the program, plausible deniability, or maybe it was just kept from them and they didn't know. And
they might not even know it existed.
Right. And they're lazy and they didn't go looking for it, or again, maybe they were just really good at concealing it. And perhaps President Trump knows what they're looking for.
Yeah. To your point, Brian, about, the deep state is not just the guys at the top. I think in a lot of these agencies and departments, it's not at all the guys at the top. It's the underlying bureaucracy that never leaves, never turns over. They just switch sides politically, but they advance the globalist agenda inside of our government. And I don't have any inside knowledge on this, but this story reads to me as though they were caught in the act of trying to subvert the Trump admin. It's not subverting Gada Mokala. It's subverting President Trump. President Trump has appointed him and put him in that job to do that job. President Trump can't be there to do all of the jobs in all of the departments. He needs to be able to rely on his team. And when there is insubordination downstream, those people need to be removed and probably prosecuted. I think the people that set up this counterintelligence polygraph, what is that? Where they ask you questions that there's literally no true answer to, so you lie regardless, right? Like you're trying to answer, and what is a counterintelligence polygraph in the way that it was given to Gada Mokala? I think that we should know that, and what tactics they were using to subvert the Trump administration, because that's treason.
The one thing I'm going to push back on
especially for critical infrastructure. Sorry.
You said that it's the top of the bureaucracy and that, the people below them. I disagree with that. I think that historically, in order to rise to the top of the bureaucracy, you have to be a part of that, swamp establishment or whatever. The difference now that we're seeing with President Trump, and this is something that we talked about with Colonel Towner on Why We Vote a couple weeks ago, is the people that President Trump are putting in this place. Some of them there are establishment people in there for sure, but a lot of them are not. A lot of them, Ratcliffe has not historically been, he did not rise up through the ranks of the CIA to become the CIA director. And what are you seeing? You're seeing people that are, established CIA members pushing back on him and calling him out and, trying to disparage him and discredit him. And that's just the one example I'm going to use. President Trump is putting people in charge of these positions that did not rise up through the bureaucracy to achieve that level. And so they're not the yes men that go from a GS, 7 or 8 all the way up to a GS, 14, 15, whatever. And I think that's one of the keys here, and why you're seeing somebody like Gadu Mokala, who came up through South Dakota and not through CISA and DHS and all that, why they're pushing back on him so hard. Because he's actually doing the job. He's not just, being a yes man and expecting yes men to follow him. I
don't think this is an absolute answer.
No,
right?
It's not. Yeah. I'm just showing you what I think is the difference between the Trump administration and the historic bureaucracy.
I do think, though, that in a lot of these, and I think it depends on what role the agency or department plays in the criminal portfolio, right? So certainly you're not going to have someone that's not read in as the head of CIA, right? But when I think about Jenna Griswold here in Colorado, everybody here thinks that she is a criminal mastermind, that she is this, evil genius that's rigging elections. She doesn't know anything about elections. She is isolated. She is gate-kept. Her communications are clean. She is this, kind of vacuum sealed leader that they prop up to talk to MSNBC. But when it comes to the criminal portfolio of work, I would not be surprised if she doesn't know. Now, I don't think that gets her off the hook. I think that she's criminally stupid and she's being used. She'd be a great whistleblower one day. But what my biggest concern about that is that they're gonna fire. We're gonna see Jenna Griswold get fired or prosecuted or go to prison, and the people running her office are gonna stay in charge because they have been in charge going back to like 2004. These people have been there, just switching sides, no matter which party gets control of the Secretary of State position. You know what I mean? So like, it doesn't matter who the political person is, the office is going to run no matter what. And the criminal portfolio is sitting in the decision rights within that office, in my opinion, based on the information available.
Reading on here, it says senior official who denied the read-in request was placed on administrative leave for a reason unrelated to the polygraph. Gadu Mukala says, quote, Gadu Mukala, quote, had trusted advisors he could have leaned on, and he didn't, said the third current official. Holy shit.
Yeah. We tried to handle him and he wouldn't listen to us. So we had to set him up to fail a polygraph test.
You have this like high level classified, information on loan from another agency, another spy agency. And the deputy director, who is the acting director of CISA, you should have just passed that off to a lower level tier 1 or tier 3, whatever, bureaucrat instead of dealing with it yourself. And that's their justification. This is a fascinating story. Less highly classified versions of the requested intelligence would have been available to Gadu Mukala without taking a polygraph. We'll take out all the good stuff. Gadu Mukala asked to see the intelligence. And this is a weird statement. Two current officials says Gadu Mukala, quote, asked to see the intelligence, end quote, and only later started claiming he was, quote, just doing, end quote, what career staff told him to do. I would love to see the full context of that quote.
Yeah.
What in the hell type of chopping up quotes is that? He, quote unquote, asked to see the intelligence and, quote unquote, just doing what career staff told him to do.
So it's chopped up quotes in a third-hand hearsay statement because it's the fourth current official that says he asked to see the intelligence and only later claimed he was just doing what career staff told him to do. We're not talking about document records. We're not talking about reviewing emails. We're talking about the fourth anonymous source telling Politico. This is a group, in my opinion, this is a group of intelligence officials that are trying to get ahead of the story that is probably coming sometime in the new year, where they're all going to get freaking arrested and they're going to get prosecuted. And they're not going to get prosecuted because they were trying to protect intelligence from this rogue Trump administration official who wanted to see intelligence that he wasn't allowed to see. They're going to get prosecuted because they tried to subvert and undermine the agenda of the president of the United States and his appointees. And that, my friends, is treason because they all serve at the pleasure of the president in the executive branch.
Yep. I told you guys that I thought the election is going to heat up in 2026, and we're like a week away. And here we are. Those interviewed could not say definitively why Gadu Mukala didn't pass the July polygraph, and several cautioned that people may fail the examinations for innocuous reasons, such as anxiety or a technical error. Polygraph results are not reliable enough to be admitted as evidence in most U.S. courts. However, it is enough to keep a acting director of an agency from being able to view what all of his subordinates can apparently view and stop him from being able to view. Bonkers.
Yeah, and anonymous officials recounting their stories off the top of their heads are also not admissible in a court of law. That's hearsay. And sorry, this story is
ridiculous.
It could be entirely fabricated.
Yeah. At least 6 career staff who were involved in scheduling and approving the test were informed in letters that acting chief security officer DHS that their access to classified national security information was being temporarily suspended for potentially misleading Gadu Mukala. This action is being taken due to information received by this office that you have participated in providing false information to the acting head of CISA regarding the existence of a requirement for a polygraph examination prior to accessing certain programs. The staffers placed on leave included both senior and junior officials, Jeffrey Conklin, CISA's chief security officer, Masoom Chaudhary, the agent's deputy chief of staff, Scott McCarthy, an executive office action officer and former acting CSO, Adam Bachman, an agency action officer, Stacy Wren, a contractor in the agency security office, contractor, CIA, and Brian Doan, an official CISA intelligence, an official in CISA's intelligence division. It is a spy agency. The investigation is being led by the acting general counsel of DHS. And then I love this. Stuart Baker, a former general counsel of DHS, said it is common for general counsel's office to handle politically sensitive internal investigations, especially if, quote, the political leadership suspects that the incident has a career versus political element. So they're calling, it sounds like Baker's saying, hey, these guys are all the career guys. They're the good guys. Garu Mukala is a political appointee, and therefore he should not be subject or privy to all of this information. Now,
I hope they keep making that argument, because that argument will wake people up. Hang on a second. Why are we voting? Why are we voting if the political appointees don't actually matter in running the government? What role do we, the people, actually play? I hope that they keep making that argument.
So I just did some quick surface level, and we'll start to wrap up here, but I just did some quick surface level looking at those people on that list right there. And I thought it was fascinating. CISA gets a new chief security officer in Jeff Conklin. That was the first guy announced. He was hired in July. This whole story takes place in July. A brand new employee at CISA comes in and is somehow engaged or involved in the attempt to overthrow the acting director. He comes from
we know he's involved in it.
Yeah, it's the article says he's involved in it. These are the people the article names at the end.
And he's been put on leave.
No, yeah, now he has, yeah.
Okay.
According to the article. He served as a chief security officer and chief information officer at the U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services. A lot of the people that I looked into in this story that are mentioned by name come from USCIS, which is interesting. I mean, that is under DHS, but it was interesting. Earlier in his career, Conklin worked in a series of roles at the Defense Information Systems Agency, DISA, not to be confused with CISA, where he led enterprise IT projects supporting the Department of Defense and global medical networks. The other woman mentioned is Masoom Chaudhary, who started with DHS in February of 2012, so under the Obama administration, worked there through the Trump administration until March of 2020. Then in March of 2020, she became a senior intelligence research specialist at the USCIS. There's another one, U.S. Customs and Immigration. And then from there, she was there for a little over a year and a month, and then goes to CISA during the Biden administration. So she's a CISA holdover from Biden. The guy they cite in there was interesting. The former assistant secretary of policy at DHS, Stuart Baker, to give a keynote Black Hat Executive Summit. By the way, if you're having like a DEF CON type summit, probably not a good idea to call it Black Hat, given the negative connotation of that. But from 2005, Baker was the first assistant secretary of policy at DHS. Baker chaired the drafting team for the report by the General Counsel, the Commission on the Intelligence Capabilities of the United States regarding weapons of mass destruction. This commission investigated WMD intelligence failures prior to the Iraq War and provides specific recommendations for future improvements. Prior to DHS, Baker was appointed to serve as General Counsel for the No Such Agency Exists, the NSA. So those are the people
Black
involved.
Hat is the name of the company, by the way.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I'm not just, I wouldn't name it like Black Hat.
What the company does is training and simulation exercises for cybersecurity events. So your point is still relevant. But
yeah, don't call yourself like White Hat. I would have got it. Red Team. I would have.
We got to get out of here. It's Christmas.
That is the pot calling the kettle black right there.
Really? Because you keep adding stories.
That was my last story. I was just adding depth onto the Politico story. All right, let's talk about soft disclosure before we get out of here.
Soft disclosure just dropped new favorites for the season. The lotion, your 5-ounce favorite, is still here. And now we've added full 11-ounce bottles. New lavender tea tree deodorant, clean, calm, and effective. New tallow bars, chamomile lemon rose, and naked. Rich moisture that actually works. Now, the lineup is complete. Beard oil in unscented and spiced vanilla. Palo lip balms, available in chamomile mint, vanilla, naked, and vanilla tangerine. Palo bar minis for pocket-ready hydration. Available in vanilla coffee and naked. And finally, lavender vanilla lotion. Clean, calm, and made to work. Visit softdisclosure.com. Use code Badlands and get 15% off. Soft Disclosure, for truth you can gift.
All right, softdisclosure.com. Check them out. We'll get into Rants.
Absolutely. We got incredible gifts. You can still get a gift card. So if you have a last minute gift that oh crap, I forgot Uncle so-and-so, soft disclosure gift cards. If Uncle so-and-so has a beard, the beard oil is great as well. I've got that in my husband's stocking. Don't tell him.
It is. Advise them to put it in their beard once they get out of the shower. Just lightly dry the beard and then put it in. It'll feel nice and soft. Yeah. Smash that thumbs up if you have not done so. 5,600 watching, 882 thumbs up. Let's do better than that. It's a great day to get Badlands Daily on the top 5 of the leaderboard, since a lot of the other ones are not coming to you live on Christmas Eve like we are. Let's jump into some rants here. Rebber Heart 29. Merry Christmas, Brian and Ash. May God bless you and your families this Christmas season. The both of you and all of Badlands Media have been a tremendous blessing to this boomer. God bless. Thank you so much for the generous rant.
Thank you so much.
And Merry Christmas to you. Ellen Springer, Merry Christmas, Brian and Ash. Thank you both for all you do. You guys are the best. And thank you as well, Ellen. And Merry Christmas to you.
Yes, Merry Christmas, Ellen. And I received your Christmas present, and it took everything in me to not open it before Christmas, but it is under the tree. Thank you so much.
All right. Liberty Lion, show closeout request, about 5 minutes. Trump saves Christmas. I can't today. I'm on a deadline. I'm on a crunch. I'm already gone over.
It's a good one though. And that's posted all over X. So if people haven't seen it, they can go check it out. But I think on
Donald did that, right?
It was Saturday night's DPH. They played that video as an outro.
There you go. Liberty Lion, Merry Christmas, and may God bless all of you. Even the losers and fakes and the liberals yelling fascists and politicians on the take. God bless you, Badlanders. Thanks, Liberty Lion. Luck or Lucy the dog. Happy celebration of our dear Savior's birthday to you all. Greetings from a shipper's dock in Idaho. I will be trucking in Reno to Reno for a delivery. Stay safe and Godspeed. Drive safely. Merry Christmas. Thank you for doing that work. I know this is a crazy time for you, but it's almost over. So take a deep breath because it's almost over. And God bless. Merry Christmas. Yeah. Emerald Dragon, Merry Christmas to both of you and your families and all the Badlands family. Thank you so much, Emerald Dragon.
Thank you so much. Merry Christmas.
And Faith and Freedom, last minute rant here. Very generous. Thank you so much, Faith and Freedom. Merry Christmas, and Merry Christmas to you as well.
Merry Christmas and God bless us, everyone. One more thing I just want to say on Soft Disclosure, because we have so many new people watching. Soft Disclosure is America First. It's a farm here in Colorado, makes the majority of the products, but the supply chain is all America First companies. So really, you're helping at least 5 when you purchase softdisclosure.com, and the products are amazing. You will absolutely love them. When you purchase them, you're force multiplying your America First dollars because you're supporting at least 5 small American small businesses. So we're big fans. Softdisclosure.com. Use promo code Badlands.
C. Meadows had a Badlands boost and said, I asked Grok how much taxpayer funding went to big pharma research and development, and it was 47 to 48 billion annually. No return on investment for Americans. We fund R&D and then are overcharged supposedly because of the cost of R&D. Yeah, it's one of the biggest criminal rackets in the world.
It's a huge scam. And it was, I think it was set up that way to harm Americans, like 100%. Actually harm America and Americans, to equalize, make the world more equitable.
Yep.
Which is a hard pass. We're not doing that anymore.
All right, guys. As we said, Merry Christmas to everybody out there. God bless. Happy holidays. Happy Hanukkah. Happy New Year. All of the things, although we'll see New Year. There will not be a Badlands Daily tomorrow. Friday, we will have a Badlands Daily. I'm not sure if Chris Paul is going to make it or not, but we'll get something done one way or the other. There will not be a sit rep either tomorrow. But I think we are doing Why We Vote on Friday. So
yes, we are. We do have The Choice tomorrow. I think it's the only show on Badlands tomorrow, but it's Christmas themed, so it works. And tonight, that same, if you're not going to be tuned in tomorrow, tune in tonight, because Shipwreck Show is playing on Friday this week, and in Shipwreck's spot tonight, we have the Choice / Good Book Sessions crossover event of The Shepherd. Next week we'll have The Messenger, but Jackie and Dave join Gordon and I to talk about Jesus and the Christmas story, and it's a lot of fun. Really had fun making those specials. So be sure to tune in tonight and or tomorrow to check that out.
All right, and just real quick to close out, guys, I'm going to raid you guys over to my channel. I have a restream interview going right now with Kevin Moncla, David Cross, and Jeff Lenberg. And if you're tracking this whole Fulton County 315,000 thing, the votes that are illegitimate, a lot of this is the work that Moncla and David Cross have done. And, they're friends of mine, and I've interviewed them many times. And so I'm going to kick you guys over there. Yeah, American heroes, absolutely. And Jeff Lenberg is a top-notch penetration tester with a very high security clearance, worked in a very prestigious lab. I think it's an important story, and you're going to see a lot more of this coming out as the algorithm allows us to talk about election fraud and get this stuff out there. So I'm going to raid you guys over there. Be sure it'll be over. I think it'll be over just before Daily Herald. So jump back over here at 1. Is John doing Daily Herald today?
I think so.
Yeah, I think he is. And so check it out. And God bless and Merry Christmas, guys. I hope you guys have a wonderful holiday. I really do.
Merry Christmas, everyone.
Thank you so much for joining us, and don't forget to hit the thumbs up on this video. And a special thank you to all of our advertising partners. Please remember to shift your dollars to support those businesses that support Badlands Media.